You walked out of the dealership feeling like you won. You negotiated. You pushed back. You got them down $500 off the sticker price. The salesman shook your hand. You signed the papers. You drove home in a new car feeling like you beat the system. You didn't beat the system. The system beat you before you even sat down. And the reason you don't know that is because car dealerships are the single most sophisticated retail manipulation machine ever built in America. They have been perfecting the psychological architecture of this transaction for over 100 years. And that $500 you saved? They made it back in the first 6 minutes of the finance office. Today I'm going to show you exactly how. Here is the first thing you need to understand. And it's the one thing that reframes everything else. Car dealerships barely make money selling cars. This sounds insane. You just paid $40,000 for a vehicle. Surely the person who sold it to you made a profit on that. The average front-end gross profit, that's the profit on the actual vehicle sale, on a new car transaction in the United States is around $1,500. On a $40,000 purchase, that's less than 4%. On a used car, the margins are slightly better, typically $2,000 to $4,000, but still not where the money is. So if they're not making serious money selling you the car, where is the money coming from? 3 places: the service department, the finance office, and the manufacturer. The service department is straightforward. Maintenance, repairs, warranty work. That's a consistent revenue stream, and it's genuinely profitable. The manufacturer piece will come back to. But the finance office, that's the engine. That's where the dealership makes more money on your transaction than anywhere else. And most people don't even realize they're about to enter it until the salesperson says those words. Now I just need to take you over to meet our finance manager. But before we get to the finance office, let's talk about what happens on the showroom floor. Because the entire negotiation you just had, it was designed to confuse you. Car dealerships use a technique called the Foursquare method. It's been an industry standard for decades, and it is one of the most effective manipulation tactics in the history of retail sales. Here's how it works. The salesperson takes a piece of paper and divides it into 4 boxes. Top left, the price of the vehicle. Top right, your trade-in value. Bottom left, your down payment. Bottom right, your monthly payment. And now here's the trap. When you focus on one number, they adjust the others. You push back on the monthly payment, they quietly increase the loan term. You push hard on the vehicle price, they quietly drop your trade-in value. You negotiate the down payment down, the monthly payment goes up. The 4 boxes are not independent variables. They are one connected equation. And the dealership controls every variable except the one you're looking at. The goal is simple. Keep you focused on the monthly payment. Because monthly payment is the number that feels manageable. Monthly payment disconnects you from the total cost. Here is the math that proves it. A $40,000 car financed at 5% for 60 months costs you around $45,000 total after interest. Stretch that same loan to 72 months. The payment feels lower, but now you've paid over $46,000. Stretch to 84 months, and you're at almost $48,000. The salesperson never tells you the total. They tell you the monthly. And you sign. A 2020 study by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that most consumers could not accurately state the total cost of their auto loan at the time of signing. They knew the payment. They did not know the price. That is not an accident. That is the Foursquare method working exactly as designed. Now you walk into the finance office. The finance manager is not a paperwork person. The finance manager is a salesperson. The highest paid, most highly trained salesperson in the entire building. Their job is to sell you products you did not plan to buy when you woke up this morning. Extended warranty, gap insurance, paint protection, fabric protection, tire and wheel protection, key fob replacement, credit insurance. Sometimes things called nitrogen-filled tires which are barely worth discussing. Each of these products is presented quickly, clearly, embedded in a stack of documents you are signing at speed, in a small office, after spending 2 to 4 hours on the showroom floor. You are mentally exhausted. You've already committed emotionally. The car is yours. You just want to finish. That is the state they are counting on. Now let's look at the margin on these products. The average dealer markup on an extended warranty is between 50 and 80%. A warranty listed at $2,000 may have cost the dealership $500. Gap insurance, which genuinely has value, is sold at dealerships for an average of $700. Your car insurance company will typically sell you the exact same coverage for $20 to $40 a year. Paint protection film applied at the dealership averages $800. It can be done at an independent shop for $200. But here's what makes the finance office truly remarkable from a financial engineering perspective. All of these products get rolled into your loan. You don't pay $700 today for gap insurance. You pay $11 a month for the next 72 months, which is $792, plus the interest on that $792 over the life of the loan. By the time you finish paying off a fully loaded finance package, warranty, gap, protection plans, you may have paid $4,000 to $6,000 for products that cost the dealership $800 to $1,200. The National Automobile Dealers Association reports that finance and insurance income represents approximately 30% of total dealership profit. 30% of their total profit. From a room, most customers spend less than an hour in. Let's go back to the beginning of the negotiation. The moment you walked in, if you had a trade-in, the salesperson asked you about it, and you told them. That was the first mistake. Here's why. The dealership needs to know your trade-in value to run the Foursquare. But more importantly, knowing you have a trade-in gives them another variable to manipulate. The standard playbook works like this. If you're negotiating hard on the vehicle price and they feel the deal slipping, they quietly reduce the trade-in offer. You push back on the trade-in, they reduce the discount on the new car. The numbers move together. You never get a good deal on both. But here's the part that almost nobody catches. The dealership appraises your trade-in for wholesale value. The price they plan to sell it on their lot, which they call the retail value, is anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 higher. That spread is pure profit, generated entirely by the fact that you walked in without knowing what your car was actually worth. Kelley Blue Book, CarMax, Carvana, and several other platforms will give you a firm offer on your vehicle before you walk into a dealership. If you walk in knowing your trade-in is worth $12,000 and the dealership offers you $9,000, you know immediately what they're doing. Most people don't do this. Most people let the dealership tell them what their car is worth. That is not a neutral appraisal. That is the first number in a 4-variable equation that is designed to extract maximum value from the transaction. Now here is the number that almost no consumer ever hears about. It's called the dealer holdback. When a manufacturer sells a vehicle to a dealership, the dealership pays what's called the invoice price. Most consumers who do homework think invoice price is the dealer's actual cost. It is not. After the car sells, the manufacturer pays the dealership a hidden rebate, typically between 1% and 3% of the MSRP. It's called the holdback. On a $40,000 vehicle, that's $400 to $1,200 paid directly back to the dealership after every sale, regardless of what price the customer paid, regardless of whether the dealership negotiated. So when a salesperson says they're selling you a car at invoice, at cost, they are technically telling the truth, and also being paid $1,200 by the manufacturer after you drive away. This is not illegal. It is not disclosed. It is simply baked into the financial architecture of the industry, and it means the floor on any negotiation, the actual minimum the dealership will take, is lower than they will ever tell you. Let's run the full math on a transaction that looks normal. You buy a $38,000 vehicle. You put $2,000 down. You trade in your old car and get $9,000 for it, when it was actually worth $11,000. You finance the remaining $27,000 at 6% for 72 months. You accept the extended warranty for $1,800, the gap insurance for $600, and the paint protection for $800, all rolled into the loan. Your monthly payment is around $540. That feels manageable. Now let's add it up. Total financed, $30,200. Total paid over 72 months at 6%, $35,000 and change. Add back your down payment, $37,000. Add the $2,000 you left on the table on the trade-in, $39,000. You bought a $38,000 car for $39,000. Before considering the opportunity cost of your down payment and the value differential on the trade-in, the monthly payment made it feel like a reasonable deal. The total cost is the actual deal, and they are not the same number. None of this is accidental. Car dealerships spend enormous resources training their salespeople in psychological techniques. The process is deliberate, tested, and refined over decades. The test drive is not for your benefit. It is to build emotional ownership before the financial conversation begins. The moment you drive that car, your brain has already made the decision. The negotiation that follows is theater. The waiting is not logistical. When a salesperson says, "Let me go check with my manager," they are not checking with their manager. They are letting time pass. Because time pressure works in their favor. The longer you've been there, the more you've invested, and the more you want it to be over. The manager appearance is not an escalation. When the sales manager comes out to meet you and offers a slightly better deal, it's called the turnover close. A different face, a fresh emotional reset, a sense that you are now getting something special. The desk is positioned so you face a wall of vehicles. The chairs in the finance office are slightly lower than the finance manager's chair. The office temperature is calibrated. The documents are thick, presented fast, with a pen already in your hand. The entire physical environment is a conversion machine. You walked into it thinking you were a buyer making a rational decision. You were a subject in a system that has been optimizing for your compliance for 100 years. Several states have attempted to reform the car buying process. In 2021, a bill was introduced in multiple state legislatures to require all-in pricing, meaning the final out-the-door price must be disclosed up front before negotiation begins. The National Automobile Dealers Association spent over $40 million in lobbying in that period. The bills did not pass in any major auto market state. Tesla attempted to sell cars directly to consumers, cutting out the dealership entirely. Clean transaction, fixed price, no finance office. 14 states have laws that actively prohibit direct manufacturer sales. Those laws were passed at the direct request of dealership lobbying groups. The franchise dealership model is legally protected in most of the United States, not because it produces better outcomes for consumers, because it produces better outcomes for dealerships. And dealerships have the political infrastructure to maintain that protection. When a country or state removes the friction from car buying, when prices are fixed, when finance products are transparent, when trade-in values are objective, sales don't collapse. Consumer satisfaction goes up. Dealership profit goes down. That is the only reason the friction exists. Let's be precise about who profits from the current system. The manufacturer wins. They sell vehicles at controlled pricing with predictable margins. They also profit from captive finance arms. When you finance through Ford Motor Credit or Toyota Financial, the manufacturer earns interest on your loan. The dealership wins. Front-end gross on the vehicle, holdback from the manufacturer, trade-in spread, and the finance and insurance products. A high-performing dealership finance manager earns $200,000 to $400,000 annually, more than most of the surgeons you'll ever meet. The finance product companies win. Extended warranty administrators, gap insurance underwriters, and protection plan providers collect premiums and pay out claims at rates that produce exceptional margins. The consumer wins, specifically and narrowly, if they buy a used vehicle rather than new. They arrange financing independently through a credit union before entering the dealership. They know the exact market value of any trade-in before the conversation begins. They never negotiate from a monthly payment. They decline all finance office products and source them independently if needed. And they are willing to walk out and mean it. That is a narrow path. Most people don't walk it. Most people don't know it exists. And the industry is structured specifically to make sure they don't find out. Here's the thing about systems that are designed to take your money quietly. They don't look like exploitation. They look like a negotiation. They feel like a fair fight. The salesperson is friendly. The building is clean. The cars are beautiful. And at the end, you sign something and drive away in something you actually wanted. That experience, that feeling of completion, of having made a big purchase, of sitting in a new car, is the product. Everything that happened in between was extraction. The foursquare, the finance office, the trade-in, the holdback, each layer designed for one purpose, not to help you buy a car, to maximize what you pay for it while making sure you feel okay about it. Because the most profitable customer isn't the one who feels robbed. It's the one who drives home in a new car thinking they got a good deal. So what do you actually do with this? Before you walk into any dealership, get a firm trade-in offer from CarMax or Carvana. That's your floor. Get pre-approved financing from your credit union. That's your rate. Know the transaction price you're willing to pay, not the monthly, the total. And know that you are allowed to leave. The inventory does not disappear overnight. There is always another car. The urgency is manufactured. The deal will still be there tomorrow. And if you want to understand how the other systems work, credit card rewards, gym memberships, streaming subscriptions, landlord deposit tricks, subscribe to Think True. Because there's an entire architecture built around the same principle. And the real story is never the one being advertised.